My mother called while my son was on a ventilator. Your sister's engagement party is Saturday. We need you there early. I said no. She said, then you're no longer my son. 2 days later, my boy woke up and asked me a question that broke me. My son Eli was 7 when a routine case of the flu turned into pneumonia, and the pneumonia turned into a night I will never forget. One evening, he was watching cartoons with a fever. By midnight, machines were breathing for him. I'd been at the hospital for 4 days when my phone rang. Mom. I answered immediately, because I'd left her 2 voicemails about Eli and heard nothing back. How's he doing? She asked. Still sedated. They're saying maybe... Listen, she cut in. Saturday is Chloe's engagement party. Your father rented the hall. We need you there by noon to set up the sound system. You're the only one who knows how. I actually pulled the phone away from my ear and looked at it. Mom, Eli is on a ventilator. He's in a hospital full of doctors. He won't even know you're gone. Chloe only gets engaged once. Growing up, my sister Chloe was the sun, and I was weather. When she totaled 2 cars in college, Dad replaced both. When I asked to borrow $800 for textbooks, I got a speech about standing on my own 2 feet. Her wedding fund existed before she had a boyfriend. My wedding got a toaster. I kept my voice level. I'm not leaving my son. Her tone flipped like a switch. If you skip your sister's party, you are no longer my son. I mean it. I was 40 years old, standing in a hallway that smelled like antiseptic, listening to my mother disown me over folding chairs and speakers. Okay, I said, and I hung up. Then I blocked her number and Dad's and sat back down outside the PICU. Saturday came. The photos showed up online anyway, through a cousin's account. Gold balloons, a champagne wall, Mom beaming next to Chloe. Not one person in those pictures had texted to ask if Eli was alive. Sunday afternoon, Eli's numbers improved. Monday morning, they removed the tube. That night, hoarse and small, he looked at me and whispered, Daddy, is Grandma mad at us? My stomach dropped. Why would you ask that, buddy? I heard her yelling on the phone before I fell back asleep. He'd been drifting in and out of sedation, and the thing that reached him was my mother's voice. I told him no one was mad, that he was the bravest kid in the building, and I sat there until he fell asleep with his hand in mine. Eli came home 3 weeks later. That's when the call started. An uncle, your mom's heartbroken. Chloe, you embarrassed her at my party by not coming. My father, from a work number. Your mother says terrible things when she's stressed. Let it go. Nobody asked about Eli. Not once. Then my aunt let something slip. Mom had been telling relatives she was reconsidering things, and that I'd regret my choices when the will is read. That's when I understood the disowning wasn't rage. It was leverage. She genuinely believed the inheritance was a leash. Here's what she didn't know. My wife and I had spent 15 years being boring with money. Paid off cars, index funds, a duplex we rented out. We didn't need a dime from anyone, and never had. But there was something else she'd forgotten. For 6 years, I'd been quietly managing my parents' finances, their taxes, their insurance renewals, the rental house Dad owned across town. I found the tenants, handled the repairs, collected the rent, all for free. I was also the co-signer keeping the mortgage rate on that rental from ballooning. I met with an attorney and removed myself from all of it. Legally, cleanly, with formal written notice. Their accountant would now be a person they had to pay. Their property manager would now be a company that charged 10%. Within 4 months, Dad had a vacancy he couldn't fill, and a tax deadline he missed. Mom started calling from unfamiliar numbers. Blocked. Chloe sent a paragraph about family loyalty. Deleted. Letters arrived. My wife returned them unopened. Christmas came. They gathered at my parents' house, and for the first time in my life, I felt zero pull toward that door. We took Eli to the mountains instead. He'd just been cleared to play sports again, and he spent 2 days sledding until his cheeks glowed. On Christmas night, my phone lit up. Unknown number. 4 words. Your mother is sorry. Eli looked up from his cocoa. Who's that, Dad? I turned the phone face down on the table. Wrong number, I said, and for once it didn't even feel like a lie.